Good afternoon, welcome to Manchester Film Festival. We're fresh from the premiere of Solistice and we've had this film in our animated shorts blocks. I'm joined by the creator, Luke Angus. Please tell us a little bit about the film.
Yeah, so Solistice was just a bit of a passion project I've worked on for the last few years. I worked on it in my spare time. I had this idea for as long as I can remember, like over 10 years I've had this idea for a film, and it just felt like the right time to start making it, and so I chipped away at it for about just over 3 years in spare time on mornings, evenings, weekends, and it's evolved a lot over that time and taken a lot of twists and turns, and it's retained its core of what it always was, but now it's what the film you saw today was the final thing after that much work, which is nice to see on the big screen. It's cool.
I think there's astigmatism is the wrong word, but there's certainly in animated filmmaking a conscious thought of my world needs to be complete to make the viewer not aware they're making an animated film and kind of step into my universe. But you left your kind of rough drawing lines on the characters in certain places, and it just reminded me when I was watching it, it's like, no, this is an animated film, that's all deliberate, that's really impressive. What were the reasons for leaving those kind of rough sketches?
I think just having it, I like this hand sort of claymation-y, a lot of it's animated on twos, so I'm leaving every other frame the same as previous, and it gives it this kind of hand tangible, tactile feel that you could almost the almost claymation-y look to it, and I always like that. Just a stylistic choice. It doesn't really go much deeper than it just being this a visually appealing look that I've always enjoyed, so I tried to include that sort of style in the film.
It is very, very visually impressive, in the textures on the coat, but also the depth of field you get is something I don't think you see in many animated shorts. Are there techniques that you've learned through other projects, or is it just I'm playing with it and this is how I like it to look? Yeah,
I mean, I've made a few other short films previous to this one, and every one of the projects is sort of just this playground for me to try out new techniques and new software, whatever. It's just like a playground where I just get to learn new things. So it was just the fur was a big one in this film, and the animating on twos is another one I hadn't tried really before. And it's just a really great way that I can take it into my professional work, where I'm head of animation at a studio in Glasgow, Revenant. And so it's a nice way where I can just sort of, without really any cost to it, I can have a little experiment with some new techniques or new software that's come out, and push my skills further and see if I can make a more beautiful image as best I can. But yeah.
It's almost, I think depending on how you look at it, it's quite a sad film or it's quite a joyous film. It's about loneliness and grief, but it's also about acceptance and joy. Do those two things in your mind as a creator exist side by side, or is it about one becoming the other?
No, I always, there's always this pressure when you're writing these shorts or these stories to have it be this perfect ending or this great message at the end of it all, which is all tied together nicely, which I've never been a fan of, and I did feel that pressure with if I'd run a draft by someone, I had that feedback of the ending is essentially very sad. It's it seems like he's being reunited with his lost partner, but he's also trapping himself inside an igloo and sort of locking himself off from the world, and that's not an ideal way to deal with grief. It's almost like shutting yourself out from the world. But to be honest, that to me is a more realistic representation of what a lot of people do, and it's not to say it's the right thing to do, and it's got its positives that you are not letting this person go and moving on from them, and that's nice.
Yeah.
And
he's doing to himself what the universe has done to him.
Yeah, and I think that's way more interesting as a grey area to explore, rather than it being he manages to let her go and he leaves her behind and he meets someone else, and that's maybe more positive and probably more healthy. But to be honest, I don't think it's representative of most people's experience with dealing with grief or loss. So yeah.
And it's also it's amazing to see such child-friendly imagery deal with adult subject matter. What is your audience for that? Are you happy for children to see it, or is it specifically for children?
I always think I'm making films for kids, but I think it's just because it's animated. Then at the end of it, I'm when I'm showing my friends and family and things, and I'm it's for kids. I've got a lot of nieces and nephews, and at the end of it, I'm nothing about this is for kids really, other than that it's animated, and we've been just trained that animation is for kids. And it has got this very cartoony, maybe fun-looking style, but the palette is not this very bright, vibrant, beautiful kids thing. It's got a palette, but it's not this. It's not deeply, highly saturated. It's quite somber at times. I pulled the colors back a lot to pull that away from it being too kid-friendly almost. But yeah, it is something I almost realized after the fact that this maybe isn't for kids. I don't know. Maybe it's not. I think it's got this playful kid style to it, but the subject matter and the content and the tragedy of it all is, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, you see that a lot in Disney films. They always have these tragedies, but they've also got this lighthearted, fun, playful stuff, which this doesn't have as much of. But yeah.
What are you doing with it next?
So yes, this was a premiere, so it was really great to see, and now I've just been accepted into the Short Shorts Festival in Tokyo. So I'm going to try and get out there to see it. Would be amazing. It's in June. So that's the next step for the film, and then after that I've got a few other festivals lined up that I'm hoping to be accepted to. Beyond that, not really sure. Post it online and see how it does. But yeah.
Lovely. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.